We'll take questions after.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those character wins that shows our guys are going to keep fighting no matter what the score is. Like, we could have easily given up. Down 15, the start to the second half wasn't great. Kind of made some changes, went with the bench guys, hung in there, and, kept clawing away at the lead. Finally took the lead and then were able to pull away from them. So, that's a tough team. You got to give Houston a ton of credit there. They give you everything they can handle. I mean, our offense was looking like a disaster for most of the game, and that's total credit to them. I mean, they take you out of what you want to do. They took Brandon out of what he wanted to do. Brandon showed a lot of character, stepping up and making all the free throws late, after we had struggled to make them early. But, I thought we got some contributions from some guys. Rylan Griffin coming back to his home state of Texas, I thought was huge in that run. Jayden Bradley was big, both sides of the ball. He ends up being our second leading scorer, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. We talked about taking care of the ball, and he did a good job at. I mean, he plays 25 minutes and didn't turn the ball over against them, which, we had way too many turnovers. But I thought second half when we cut it to 3, that's when we were able to kind of make that run after we got down. So huge program win. Not sure how many teams get the chance to play 2 number 1 teams in non-conference, let alone beat them. But, I think that shows where we've gotten this program to, that we can play with anybody in the country at this point.
Chase. Chase, you're muted.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, it was a struggle for most of the game for Brandon Miller. And he didn't have the greatest game against North Carolina either as your leading scorer, but yet against 2 number 1s, you're able to overcome a rough night from a super offensive player in both of those games and still rally for the win. What does that say about the depth and the team around him?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of players. Obviously, Brandon's talented. He's really good. He's 6'9" guard that can do a lot. But, for a freshman that's never played college basketball before, you can't expect him to be Superman every night out. So, we've got to get production from lots of guys. And, another freshman, Noah Clowney, had a great start to this game. Like, teams may decide that they can't sag off him anymore. He's making shots and hitting threes. He was all over the glass. So, lots of guys stepped up at different points, and I think it shows our depth. I was watching our game against them last night, and shoot, that was a tough one, obviously at home. We barely got the win, but I was kind of looking at who we were playing and what we were really small at points, like 4 smaller guards and Juwan Gary at the 5, and I kind of looked like we just didn't have. Charles had fouled out of the game. We didn't have many options. This year, we're deeper. It shows. Nick Pringle was great in practice all week, at least at the end of the week. He came in and gave us decent minutes. Just Rylan Griffin, who had been struggling a little bit, comes home to Texas, kind of the big game atmosphere doesn't really get to him. He made some tough plays. I thought Noah Gurley, we challenging him to rebound, ends up being our second leading rebounder in 19 minutes, with 6 rebounds. So I thought there's plenty of guys that played hard, played well. We got Namari to knock down some threes. We've been seeing him do it in practice. Sears made that huge 3 out of the timeout. We kind of went back to the same play we'd gotten Shaq one late game last year, and Sears nailed that thing. So some guys that struggled through the course of the game stepped up, late when we needed them to. So it shows a lot about them.
James.
Hey, Nate. Double-digit turnovers in the first half. Just what was Houston doing just throughout the night to kind of be a ball pest? And then, in the second half, how did you guys kind of fix and what did you adjust to?
I don't know that we made too many adjustments and we tried to reemphasize to our guys what we've been telling them all week in practice. We tried to simplify it for them. Like, I think they started backing off their trapping in the ball screens when we started handling it a little bit better. If we'd have handled it better in the first half, the pressure may have come off. They trap you hard and they put a lot of pressure on your guards to make the right decision. And, sometimes your smaller guards have a hard time seeing over, their size, and they got athletes covering passing lanes. I think of the one turnover Sears had, trying to throw it length of the, cross court. I mean, they cover some ground in a hurry. So we tried to simplify it a little bit, get to some different types of actions where we're not tempted to throw some of those passes. And some of it, we just need to take care of the ball. I mean, some of it's back to high school basketball. Like you take care of the ball. You quit traveling. We had 3 travels in the first half. We needed to do some of that too.
Mike?
First question I had is this: it seems like your shirt's a little bit wet again. Did you take another bath after this game in the locker room?
Yeah, they got me. I don't mind if we keep beating number 1 teams. I'll keep, we can take it to the cleaners. The clean, all this stuff can be cleaned pretty well. They got me with some Gatorade instead of just water this game, so I might have to actually take a shower this time.
And then second question I had was Houston only made 1 field goal in the final 5 minutes, only 2 in the final 8 minutes, whole bunch of misses in between. Just what did you think of the defense? Obviously being down 15 points, but still holding it together.
Oh, it was great late. I mean, Charlie does an unbelievable job running our defense. He had some good in-game adjustments. I mean, he's been in the NBA for 5 years, so that plenty of in-game adjustments at that level. But he, we kind of went smaller, started trapping their guards a little bit more, and then we went back with Charles late, but I mean, we mixed it up a little bit because it wasn't obviously working great there early in the second half. And so I also just showed our guys, like, we got to get stops, thought Jayden Bradley was great on Sasser. Namari was great on Sasser. Sears did a good job on D. Clowney had a really good night. So different guys. Rylan Griffin had that steal. I mean, different guys stepped up on the defensive end for us. And I didn't realize that. So they scored 2 field goals the last 8 minutes of the game.
That's right. Yeah, 1 in the final 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's the number 1 team in the country too. So if we can do that too. Now, they don't have the number 1 offense, but they're pretty good. I think they were top 20 offensive efficiency. So if we can do that against them, we ought to be able, not that you do it for 8 minutes, but you can get stops against anybody we're playing on the schedule the rest of the year if we really lock in and pay attention to the scouting report and do what we need to do.
Ryan?
Coach, I asked your players what this win means, especially with the number 1 next to their name, and they pretty much said it doesn't matter what the team is, what rank it is, they're going to come out with that killer mentality. Is that the kind of stuff you want to hear? I mean, this is obviously a huge win for your school, for your program, but is that what you need going into SEC play down the road?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it shouldn't matter who we're playing. We should come out with the same kind of mindset. Obviously, it means more when you beat the number 1 team in the country, but we had some big wins last year. We've talked about this current team's talked about this. We can't go to Seattle, beat Gonzaga, come back and lose to Georgia or lose on the road to Missouri or, even the Davidson loss, up in Birmingham. Like we've got to take care of business no matter who it is. So we can't have a letdown Tuesday when we play Memphis. And Memphis is good. I mean, they kind of started us on our skid last year, if you remember. So we've got to have the same mentality, whether it's number 1 team on the road, whether it's whoever it is, at home, neutral, road, like we got to bring it every night. And I thought, for the last 12 minutes of this game, we were really good. There was our defense was pretty good in the first half, kind of kept us in. And I thought it got bad there at the beginning of the second half, but kind of the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. But our defense, if your defense can be as good as what we're trying to tell our guys it needs to be, like, you can be in every game. And I think that came true tonight.
Last one, Tony.
Yeah, how much maturity have you seen from Jayden Bradley just as the season's gone by? I mean, he's got back-to-back against the number 1 teams, 2 double-digit performances. I think he shot over 50% in both games.
Look, I mean, when we recruited him, he was a highly rated point guard because he's a winner and knows how to play. He's not the best shooter, but he's working hard on it. We're encouraging him to keep shooting. He's not the quickest guy, but he's got enough quickness to get where he needs to get on the court. But he makes winning plays. Defensively, offensively, he's smart, got a high IQ, wants to get his teammates involved. You see him spraying. I mean, we missed some open threes that he got us tonight too, but like he's a winner. Like, and he's showed it. So that's kind of, you see where he's at. How's it going? I don't think the big game affects him. I mean, it might make him better, to be honest with you, if you look at what he's done in some of our bigger games. So super happy for him. He's a great kid. He just kind of plays with the minutes you give him, and shoot, when we need him to play 25 minutes, he's ready to play 25 minutes, and he was great tonight.
Yeah, and I got one more too, just with Brandon Miller. I mean, what's your message to him? Obviously, he's going to have other big games, other, big moments, but what is your message to him to kind of rebound from? Yeah.
At halftime, I kind of told him, like, we got to do more to affect the game. They're trying to take you out. Like, you can do more than just score the ball. Like, your shot's not dropping. What are you going to do? So, like, we kind of challenged him defensively. He was much better in the second half defensively. Can you go get an old board? Can you get a defensive rebound? So I thought late in the game, he was in there when we were closing that game and making that run, and he got some rebounds, and then he stepped up the free throw line, did it. So he's not going to be, 7 of 9 from 3, 5 of 9. He's not going to shoot that way every night out. Like tonight, he was, 5 from 3. Well, he'd been at one point, he was at like 50% from 3. So, the teams are going to key on him. I think teams are going to realize if you totally key on him, we got plenty of other players that can beat you. So you gotta be careful just keying on him. They were really keying on him. Jayden Bradley gets down the lane, dunks the ball because Jarris Walker's so concerned with guarding Brandon Miller, and he doesn't switch the ball screen or hedge, whatever the plan they were supposed to be in at that point. He just lets him go right down the middle of the lane and dunk the ball. So, we're going to use Brandon as a screener sometimes. We're going to take him off screen. We're going to, and he's great that way. He's going to be playing in the NBA next year, even if he has an 0 for 8 game. Like, his talent level's so high. I mean, he's, obviously we want him to get better, and let's work with him on doing other things to help win the game. But I thought he showed he could do that in the second half.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.